The Splinter Cell remake was announced in December of 2021. A built-from-scratch, complete rebuild of one of Ubisoft's most iconic franchises. And yet here we are, 5 years later, with literally no progress on the game. We've seen no gameplay, and the game has had a director leave and come back years later. And now news has just broken that Ubisoft Toronto has let go of 40 employees. And yet somehow we're supposed to feel confident about this game? What was once a project that had tons of people excited is now just starting to look like another Ubisoft project caught in the company's endless cycle of resets, restructures, cancellations, and internal chaos. But Ubisoft says the remake is still coming. And yet this is the same company that scrapped projects mid-development, even days before release, and reshuffled leaderships across studios while its stock price bleeds and bleeds and bleeds. With everything else going on at Ubisoft right now, you really gotta ask yourself, is this game ever coming out, or will it slowly fade into development hell until it's quietly canceled? Ubisoft has confirmed significant layoffs at its Toronto studio, but claims that its remake of the stealth classic Splinter Cell remains in production. Ubisoft confirmed it's laying off around 40 employees, or around 8% of its workers, at Toronto, which is one of its largest studios. This decision was not taken lightly, and does not in any way reflect the talent, dedication, or contribution of the individuals affected. Our priority now is to support them through this transition with comprehensive severance packages and robust career placement assistance. Now this leaves us wondering, is this a game that we're ever actually going to play? Because in my mind, this was a game that would have came out maybe 1 or 2 years ago, and it was heavily rumored to be at Summer Games Fest and at the Game Awards, and that we were finally gonna get some real in-depth look at the game, and yet we didn't get any of it. Ubisoft is such a mess right now that it seems like they have completely lost the ability to actually make a high quality game. The Avatar game came out, and while it looked visually stunning, it kind of fell off and people really didn't care. It wasn't until the recent DLC that came out that was tied in with the new movie that people actually started to pay attention, especially with the third-person perspective that was added, which really is kind of how the game felt like it should have been all along, but that's when people finally cared and actually spent time with the game. And the same thing goes with Star Wars Outlaws, a game that is visually, wow, you know? You cannot say it's a bad looking game other than the main character design. Not sure what they did there, but it's a decently fun game. I had a pretty good time with it. It's not the best game, but it's a good game. But it didn't hit sales targets. People didn't seem to care that much. And now the sequel has been canceled. And aside from that, the other Ubisoft projects are a complete disaster right now. Assassin's Creed franchise is a mess. They don't know which direction to take it in. Skull and Bones is a game that literally nobody wanted. They canceled Prince of Persia what feels like a day before it was supposed to come out. And it's just like, the studio has no clue how to run its operations. The stock price is at an all-time low, and it seems like Ubisoft is basically asking itself, what's wrong with gamers? Why don't gamers want to play the games that we're putting out? Well, it's because the games that you're putting out are complete garbage. Ubisoft used to be the publisher that put out great games. There was a time when people were actually excited for Ubisoft releases. And now it seems like people only want to play it to meme on them, and they barely even play them. Ask any one of your friends who's excited for the next Far Cry, and I guarantee you're not gonna get a lot of people saying that they are. But Splinter Cell was different because it was from the era of great Ubisoft games. And Sam Fisher is one of the coolest characters ever created in video games. I mean, come on, Sam Fisher, man. You were stealthily going through these extremely dark environments, shooting out lights, sneaking behind people, breaking their necks, shooting them in the back of the head, and it was awesome. Everything about it was awesome. Pandora Tomorrow, excellent. Chaos Theory, excellent. It was like each sequel got better and better until the classic Ubisoft cycle happened, where they started to pump out games a little bit too quick. They started to force too much garbage on you, and the games got worse and worse and worse. And now Sam Fisher is basically a secondary character in Rainbow Six Siege, and then you see him pop up in all these little side games that have nothing to do with him, and he's basically just like a skin that you unlock. And now he's got the Netflix show that nobody watched, nobody cared about, and then this game is in development hell. And you expect people to be excited for the future of Splinter Cell? You expect people to be excited about anything Ubisoft does? I don't think so. As much as I want this game to come out and be absolutely incredible, especially because they're basing it off the first game, it's supposed to be a full straight up remake, you have the foundation of something excellent. So to just transfer it into Unreal Engine 5, probably make it look visually stunning, give it a really good stealth gameplay mechanic that feels difficult and makes it feel like real stealth and not just like you throw a rock and the NPC goes like, huh? did I hear something? And then you walk by them because that's garbage. And that was good maybe 20 years ago, but times have changed. If you could just take the original game and make it a little bit better, people will be happy. But it doesn't feel like Ubisoft even knows how to do that anymore. They're gonna take the original game and they're gonna make it garbage. Sure, it'll look nice, but it's not gonna be a great game. It's gonna be fine. Garbage is a little intense, but it'll probably be a 7 out of 10 because that's what Ubisoft does. They're the kings of 7 out of 10s. They make competent games that you can enjoy and have a decently good time with, but you're not in love with the game. You're not thinking back on all the great memories you had with the game. You're just having fun, you know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with having fun, but we're talking about a game here that should be amazing, that should be getting people interested in stealth game, that should be revitalizing the stealth genre. And it feels like we're probably not gonna get that, and it sucks. It honestly sucks. I think Sam Fisher's so cool. I used to love Ubisoft, man. I think there's so much opportunity for Splinter Cell to come out and really just blow people away. Imagine how cool the game can look with sneaking around in the dark and shooting out the lights with the kind of graphical powers that we have today to produce such unbelievably good looking environments with light, with RTX lighting. Imagine being able to play with that ass Sam Fisher sneaking around. Would be awesome. But I don't believe that Ubisoft is able to pull that off. They don't seem like they're the studio that knows how to do that anymore. And they haven't in a really, really long time. I mean, to be honest, I think it's been years since I've been actually overly excited about a Ubisoft game. Years. When Siege first came out, I had a really great time with it. That game has now basically developed into something that only appeals to Siege fans, and that's great for them. I'm glad they're having fun with it. I fell off at some point along the way, and it's kind of incredibly hard to get back into that game. But when it comes to the single-player Ubisoft experiences, they haven't had me in years, man. Probably Mario and Rabbids is the last Ubisoft game that I actually really, really liked. That was in 2017. That was almost 10 years ago that I feel like Ubisoft has made an actual good game. Like, really good game. They've just had chance after chance to make something actually good, and it's like, since The Division 1, since Mario and Rabbids, since Siege, that's basically been it. It's almost like they've been forced to put out garbage because they can churn it out quick and people will buy it up and they'll make tons of money on it. And it's only until recently that it started to have an effect on them, with their stock price absolutely crashing and morale at the studio being at its absolute lowest and pretty much everybody hating them. They're pretty much the new EA at this point. It is entirely possible that Splinter Cell will be the game that completely turns it around for them, but until we see something out of it and it actually looks good and the gameplay looks tight and exciting, that might be it. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it gets canceled, as much as that would suck. Do better, Ubisoft.